Namaste, Pranam, Gita Dhyana. ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् O Bhagavad Gita, with which Lord Narayana himself gave enlightenment to Arjuna. The ancient sage Vyasa included it in the Mahabharata. O goddess, showerer of the nectar-like knowledge of non-dualism contained in your 18 chapters. O my affectionate mother, the destroyer of rebirth, I meditate upon thee. Krishna Vandana. वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. Son of Vasudeva, the slayer of Kansa and Chanur, extreme delight for Mother Devaki, O Lord Krishna, the supreme teacher of the universe, my salutations to you. Our reading of the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the 5th chapter, Sannyas Yoga, and today is going to be the 20th Shloka, the verse number 20. And Sri Krishna is teaching us about what happens when an aspirant, a spiritual aspirant, walking on the path of karma gains knowledge. And Sri Krishna has told us that man with the knowledge, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, that he had taught us in the 18th Shloka, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, Brahmane Gavihastini, Shuni Chaiva Shvapakecha Panditaha Samadarshinaha. He starts seeing everything with the same understanding. For that person who is enriched with knowledge, with the divine knowledge, who has become one with the Atman, one with the Self, one with the Satchidananda. For him, there is no differentiation between a human being and cow and elephant and a dog and even a dog eater. For him, everything becomes just manifestation of that Advaita Brahman. And then in the 19th Shlok also, he had told us that ihaiva tairjitaha sargo yesham samye sthitam manaha nirdosham hi samam brahma tasmat brahmani te sthitaḥ. That having having understood this particular knowledge, having attained to this ultimate knowledge, the knowledge of the ultimate reality, then this transitoriness of coming and going, birth and death, it is destroyed once for all. Even living in this world, there is no more birth and death for him. There is no more coming and going for him. That enlightened soul, he is beyond this uh, process of transmigration, getting entrapped in that delusion. He is absolutely free from that transmigration. There is no coming and going back. Then he understands that the Brahman, the ultimate reality, is free from any duality. There are no defects in it. It is a flawless. It is samam. It is nirdosham. That entity is without any defects, without any flaws, without any dualities. And samam, the same duality manifests in all the beings. And as our uh, compassionate mother, Ma Sarada Devi, had said that the whole world is your own. No one is a stranger, my child. The whole world is your own. All beings, they are manifestations of the same Brahman. That realization comes. And then what happens once that realization comes? Having got that ultimate knowledge, Sri Krishna further says in this 20th shloka, Na prahṛiṣhyet priyaṁ prāpya, nodvijet prāpya chāpriyam, sthira-buddhir asammūḍho, brahma-vid brahmaṇi sthitaḥ. Now Sri Krishna is taking us back to the Sankhya Yoga, teachings of the Sankhya Yoga also. That na prahṛiṣhyet priyaṁ prāpya. Priyaṁ prāpya. Having got something which is very much desired. Na prahṛiṣhyet. That enriched soul, that enlightened soul, he doesn't start rejoicing if he gets something which is desired, which he is expecting, which he wants. Having got that, it is not that he starts jumping up and down. Oh, I have got this. Oh, I have become great, successful person. And he just starts showing off his happiness, his joy, his all those jubilant emotions. No rejoicing. Even if something good happens to him, fine. It is the God's gift. And na udvijet, na udvijet prāpya cha apriyaṁ. If prāpya is if he gets apriyaṁ, one which is not liked by him, one which he dislikes. If he gets, then what happens? Na udvijet, he doesn't get perturbed, he doesn't get troubled, he doesn't get into that state of frustration if he gets the thing which he doesn't like, if he gets the thing which he doesn't want, if he gets that. If something bad comes to him, nobody wants bad, right? Nobody wants bad things to happen to them. But for such enlightened souls, if something bad comes to them, the apriyaṁ prāpya, what happens to them? They are not udvijet. They are not troubled. They are not they don't get into that mode of dejection or depression or getting frustrated or even getting angry or getting all those negative emotions. They don't get into all those things. That is what happens once you get the ultimate knowledge. That is what happens to the enlightened souls. If anything good happens, fine. They don't start rejoicing. They don't start jumping up and down. If they get anything bad, which is not expected otherwise, a priyaṁ, the one which is unpleasant, the unpleasant thing if they get, they don't sulk, they don't get into dejection, they don't get into frustration, they don't get into the sorrowful mood at all. Sthira-buddhir asammūḍho, brahma-vid brahmaṇi sthitaḥ. Now the knower of the Brahman, brahma-vid, such an enlightened soul who has got the ultimate knowledge, who has started looking around the entire creation as one with me. There is no me and you, there is no duality. Such a person, if something good happens to him, he doesn't start rejoicing. If something bad, unpleasant happens to him, he doesn't get troubled with that. So, this Brahmavid, the one who is established in the knowledge of Brahman, Brahmavid, Brahmani, asammūḍha sthira-buddhir. This person with a steady intellect, with a balanced intellect, he gets well established. And asammūḍha, all the delusion destroyed, all that wrong notions of I am that person, I am this person, this belongs to me, all that kind of false notions, the delusion, asammūḍha, is removed, and the intellect is firmly established in the Brahman. That is what happens, Sri Krishna says, once as a spiritual aspirant gains the knowledge while walking on this path of karma yoga, of doing the work without any attachment and doing the work without focusing on the fruits of the karma, of the fruits of the action, and doing the work with the understanding that I am just an instrument in the hands of the Lord. I'm a mere toy in the hands of the Divine Mother, and she is making me do all these things. It is her will, it is her project, it is her work that I have been given an opportunity to do that work. With this understanding, when works, ultimate knowledge comes. That all these activities that I am engrossed in, they are not mine. They are the Lord's. And when this understanding comes, when then one starts looking at everybody around him as the manifestations, various manifestations, the multiplicity in arising from that oneness. As Sri Ramakrishna had mentioned, that multiplicity from that one point, that's what a person, an enlightened soul, starts looking at the entire creation. Established in Brahman, with firm understanding and with no delusion. And here I was referring to the 30th shloka of the Sankhya Yoga, when Sri Krishna says that such a person doesn't get into the mode of rejoicing or celebrating anything good happening, nor he goes in the dejection mood with any unpleasant thing happening. Sukha dukkha same krutva. He had told us in the Sankhya Yoga also. Time and again, Sri Krishna is putting this knowledge, putting us, emphasizing this point that the aspirants, the spiritual aspirants who are walking this path of karma, they should come to this stage that sukha dukkha same krutva labha labhau jaya jayo. Everything, all these pairs of opposites, bring them at one point. No rejoicing in pleasures, no dejection in the unpleasant things. Sukha dukkha same krutva. Make them both one. Gain that sight, gain that understanding of looking at these pairs of opposites with the same balanced state of mind. Sukha dukkha, labha alabha, the gains and loss, jaya ajaya, the victory and defeat. Look at all these pairs of opposites with the same sightedness. Consider them to be same, two coins of the same side. Fine. If you get one, you are bound to get another also at some point of time. Why to get dejected? Why to get just become extremely happy and show off your happiness to the entire world around you? Why get into that? So Sri Krishna, what he taught in the 38th shloka of the Sankhya Yoga, he is again teaching here. Established in Brahman, with firm understanding and with no delusion. Asammūḍho, the knower of Brahman, rejoices not, getting what is pleasant, and grieves not, what is getting what is unpleasant. The likes and dislikes, happiness and misery, feelings of this kind are all associated with one's entanglement in the body, one's entanglement with the senses, one's entanglement in the worldly pleasures and pains. And that's how we react. We get something pleasant. That's it. We start beating the drums. Ho, ho, this is what has happened. such a wonderful thing. I am so lucky. The God has given me this great fortune. Then we remember the God. And if something bad happens, again we put the blame on God. Hmm? Again we say, oh my God, why has God to do this thing to me? Do we ever say, why not? If God gives me something good, other time God gives me something bad, something unpleasant, something which I don't like. So what? Then we don't ask the question, why me? But we start blaming the God. We start blaming our fate. We start blaming our circumstances. If unpleasant happens, we start blaming everything around us. And this is what makes our life much more miserable. We are already dejected by getting something bad. But by putting blames on others, again, we start increasing that misery, increasing that dejection, increasing that frustration. We are only creating our own graves. He who thinks himself as the body, he gets deluded. The moment I think of me as this body, as this person, with this ego, with this I consciousness, with this body consciousness, yes, I react to the good things, I react to the bad things. But the moment I get the realization, I'm not this body. The moment I get the realization, I'm not these senses. The senses which I want to please to satisfy my desires. The senses are not me. This body is not me. If that is the thing, then there is no pleasure, there is no pain. It is only the absolute bliss. But he who is established in Brahman is completely free from the mentations, is completely free from these effect, influence of the pairs of opposites that bring to us. Then nobody can uh, have any influence on our mind. Nobody can have any influence on our moods. Nobody can make us happy or dejected or joyful or in pain. Nothing. So that is what happens with the brahmajnanis, with the devotees who have attained knowledge. Now, what Sri Ramakrishna says on this particular thing, Sri Ramakrishna says, what remains in the man from whose mind lust and greed are entirely eliminated? What happens to such a person from whom all these sense driven desires are wiped out? Like Sri Krishna had told us, the association of senses and the sense object is what is creating all this trouble for us. So what Sri Ramakrishna says, what happens to such a person from whose mind the lust and greed are entirely eliminated? There are no desires for the senses to go and meet the sense objects. Such a man, the bliss of Brahman beams in such a man. The bliss of Brahman beams in him. He doesn't have to tell anybody, I am in that state of bliss. People automatically come to know. Because this person, this enlightened soul, this seer, this yukta, this yogi, he has gone beyond the desires of lust and greed. He has gone beyond the sensual pleasures, materialistic pleasures. He has gone beyond that. There is no more desire then. If there is no desire, whatever you get is the Lord's giving. Then there is no priya, there is no apriya. Then there is no rejoicing and there is no distress. So this is what happens to the beings, to the aspirants, spiritual aspirants who have gained knowledge. And this is what Sri Krishna teaches us in this 28th shloka. And this, he is bringing in a complementary understanding between the knowledge and the karma. And having got this knowledge, having got this understanding, how we can renounce the karma, how we can renounce the ownership of doing any karma, and happily do the Lord's work as the Lord's instrument. Who stops us from doing it? Nobody can stop us. And therefore, let us all get geared up to reach this stage of attaining the knowledge which Sri Krishna time and again is telling us in the Bhagavad Gita, all through these chapters, to get into that stage of getting over these dualities of opposites, getting over these pairs of opposites. Sukha dukkha same krutva labha labho jaya jayo. And then he has told Arjuna in that Sankhya Yoga that now get up and wage the war. He says, Tato yuddhaya yujjasva naivam papam vapsasi. If with this attitude you start doing the work, you get engaged in the war, O Arjuna, no sin, no evil, no wickedness will ever touch you. You will be tentless. You will be absolutely free from any sins, any evils. So this is how Sri Krishna, even in this 20th slok, has told us that only such a person can get into that state of not rejoicing the good things happening and not getting distressed having bad things happening, not getting troubled having the unpleasant things happening. So that was Sri Krishna's teaching in this 20th shloka of the Sannyasa Yoga, the fifth adhyaya of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Sri Ramakrishna. Jai Thakur. Jai Swamiji.